Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the July 22nd joint meeting between the City Council and the School Committee. Please rise to salute the flag.
Roll call of the members of the City Council and the School Committee. Councilor Argenzio.
Here.
Here. Councilor Janino.
Here.
Here. Councilor Guarino Sawaya.
Here.
Here. Councilor Haas.
Here.
Here. Councilor Jaramillo is absent. Councilor Kelly.
Here.
Here. Councilor McKenna.
Here.
Here. Councilor Novoselsky is absent. Councilor Silvestri.
Here.
Here. Councilor Zambudo is absent. And Council President Cogliandro.
Here.
Here. Members of the School Committee. School Committee Person Bronson Rizzo, absent. School Committee Member Caggiano. Here. Here. School Committee Member Kingston.
Here.
Here. School Committee Member Milbury Ellis, absent. School Committee Member Mataroso. Here. Here. And Chairman Keefe.
Here.
Here. A quorum is present. Pursuant to Chapter 147 of the Acts of 2004, the City Council and remaining members of the School Committee shall meet in joint convention and fill the vacancy caused by the passing of School Committee member Anthony Tony Matera for the remainder of the unexpired term by selecting the defeated runner-up for School Committee from the last regular election, Frederick Sinella.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Shall the joint convention of the City Council and School Committee select Frederick Sinella, the runner-up from the last regular election? Councilor Argenzio.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Janino.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Guarino Sawaya.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Haas.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Jaramillo is absent. Councilor Kelly.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor McKenna.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Novoselsky is absent. Councilor Silvestri.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Zambudo.
Yes.
Yes. And Council President Cogliandro.
Yes.
Yes. School Committee Person Bronson Rizzo is absent. School Committee Member Caggiano.
Yes.
Yes. School Committee Member Kingston.
Yes.
Yes. School Committee Member Milbury Ellis is absent. School Committee Member Mataroso. Yes. Yes. And Chairman Keefe.
Yes.
Yes. The defeated runner-up Frederick Sinella has been chosen to fill the vacancy caused by Tony Matera. School Committee Member Mr. Sinella, please raise your right hand and repeat after me using your own name after I say aye.
If I say my own name, you're going to be in trouble.
I
I, Frederick Sinella,
do solemnly
do
swear
solemnly swear
that I will faithfully and impartially
that will faithfully and impartially
discharge and perform
discharge and perform
all the duties incumbent upon
all
me
the duties incumbent upon me
as a member of the Revere School Committee,
as a member of the Revere School Committee,
according to the best of my abilities and understanding,
according to the best of my abilities and understanding,
agreeably to the rules and regulations
agreeable to the rules and regulations,
of the Constitution and laws of the Commonwealth.
the laws of the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Fred. I just need your autograph over here as well.
I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the voters of Revere for taking a look at an old war horse, and unfortunately, how I'm replacing a past member of the school committee. It's not a comfort zone, but the mechanism was in place, and I am grateful to the city council members, grateful to the members of the school committee, and I will serve with the best of my ability. Again, thank you.
There is no further business, and this meeting is adjourned.
Good afternoon. We're calling the Legislative Affairs Subcommittee meeting to order. Please join me in a salute to the flag.
Roll call of the members, Councilor Guarino Sawaya.
Here.
Here, Councilor Jaramillo.
Here.
Here, Councilor Kelly.
Here.
Here, Councilor Silvestri.
Here.
Here, and Chairman Agenzio.
Here.
Here, quorum is present. First matter on tonight's agenda is an ordinance providing for interpretation services for public meetings and public documents.
Councilor Jaramillo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the leeway on this ordinance. The administration and I have worked for a few months now to align not just city regulations, but city ordinance and code with some requirements that the Department of Housing and Urban Development has put on us in order to be able to receive some federal grant funding. And so, you know, this does a lot of that alignment and puts it into code. That way, you know, we can be in compliance. Thank you.
Any other members wishing to speak? Hearing none. Madam, should we move this to a public hearing?
It's up to the committee.
Okay.
Motion to move to a public hearing?
There is, if you look at the ordinance, there's it says this ordinance shall take effect on July 1.
Okay.
So can we, I thought we had fixed that, Madam Clerk, but if not, can we move that so it could be, was it 90 days from adoption?
That was you amended it for your Parks and Rec ordinance.
Oh, different ordinance. All right. Well, let's do the same for this. So 90 days from adoption, I think should be fine.
That a motion?
Motion.
Okay. All in favor? Aye.
All right. Now motion to move to a public hearing, Mr. Chairman.
Roll call.
Roll call of the Legislative Affairs Committee members to send the ordinance providing for interpretation services for public meetings and documents to a public hearing as amended. Councilor Guarino Sawaya?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Jaramillo?
Here. Yes. Sorry.
Yes. Councilor Kelly?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Silvestri?
Yes.
Yes, and Chairman Agenzio?
Yes.
Yes, this ordinance will be forwarded to the City Council with a recommendation to be ordered to a public hearing.
Thank you.
Next matter is an ordinance requiring the publication of certain records of the Police Department.
Councilor Kelly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we have had a lengthy discussion on this motion already. It was in Health and Human Services Subcommittee where 2 amendments were proposed and passed, and we've also had a public hearing. So I feel at this point, we've really beaten this like a dead horse. So I'm requesting that we vote this out favorably tonight in recommendation to the full City Council to have a vote there. The motion is in the interest of public safety, public awareness, and transparency, and I believe a majority of councilors are in favor of the motion. It is not seeking anything over and above what other cities display on their website, for example, the City of Lynn. And I am also like to mention that I'm glad to see that the police log has been reinstated again in our local paper. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other members wishing to speak?
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Councilor Jaramillo.
I've shared a couple amendments that I hope are amenable to the group, and if I can pull them up quick enough while the Wi-Fi logs in. I don't know if the clerk has them handy. Okay. Let me pull them up on my cell phone, and I can share what those amendments are. My apologies.
There were 2 additional amendments at the last meeting that Councilor Jaramillo had offered, but the committee or the City Council did not vote on them. It was just notated in the meeting
So
minutes.
I have them up if that's helpful, and you have them for your records. To add to this ordinance, subsection D, the Department of Public Health and Revere Police Department Mental Health and Substance Use Clinician draft recommendations that govern and guide this ordinance with the best interest of harm reduction, mental health, and restorative justice in mind. That this ordinance go into effect no later than 30 days after said recommendations are duly submitted to be placed on file with the City Council and the Mayor's office.
Thank you. Any members wishing to speak on the amendment? Roll call on the amendment.
Roll call on the amendments. Counselor Guarino Sawaya?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Jaramillo?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Kelly?
No.
No. Counselor Silvestri?
No.
No. And Chairman Argenzio?
No.
No, the amendments fail.
Is there a second amendment?
They were together, so.
Roll call on the original
For
motion. Favorable recommendation. Correct.
Shall the Legislative Affairs Subcommittee offer a favorable recommendation for adoption as advertised on the ordinance requiring the publication of certain records of the Police Department? Counselor Guarino Sawaya?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Jaramillo?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Silvestri?
Yes.
Yes. And Chairman Argenzio?
Yes.
Yes, the ordinance will be forwarded to the full City Council this evening with a favorable recommendation for engrossment and ordainment.
Thank you.
Next council order is motion presented by Councilor Guarino Sawaya that the mayor request the city planner to draft a zoning ordinance prohibiting short-term rental use in single-family zoning districts.
Councilor Guarino Swire.
Good evening. I found out a lot more information today, and my situation is, I think it's really important that we try to support the neighborhoods that have single-family homes. And I've also found out that there aren't that many Airbnb families in single-family home districts, which is a plus. And there's only a few operating that are in the process of being shut down as they are not adhering to the primary residence ordinance in this place. So I do understand that that the short-term rental in the RA district, we can't stop people who already have it, but if this passes, no one will really be affected this evening because they are closing down Airbnbs and short-term rentals that are illegally operating. So what I really, really want this to pass because it's really important that people know that they can feel safe where they are, that these people are not coming in constantly. And with the Airbnbs and they're not following what they're supposed to be following is impacting a couple of neighborhoods, and one in particular being the Point of Pines. And I appreciate the work that Nick Catanazzo and Vin Argenzio are doing in helping us with this. They do a phenomenal job, and I will take the recommendation of what they have and go from there. Thank you.
Any other members wishing to speak? Okay. Okay. Okay, now there are additional requests from the short-term rental office that they want to put in to tighten up the regulations. Madam Clerk, would you mind reading those?
Sure. So the short-term rental office had submitted a proposed ordinance for the purpose of, assisting the city council in getting the short-term rentals tightened up. Section 1 would be as follows. Section 8.09.030A2 of the Revere Revised Ordinances is amended by inserting a new subsection A. The city shall grant no more than 2 short-term rental licenses to a dwelling. Next section, amending section 8.09.030A3, is hereby amended by inserting a new subsection A. the city shall grant no more than 2 short-term rental licenses to a dwelling. Section 809040A2 is amended by deleting it in its entirety, and the remaining numbered subsections are hereby renumbered accordingly. Section 5, Section 809040B is hereby amended by deleting the word 2 and inserting in place thereof the word 3. And Section 809080 is hereby amended by deleting this subsection in its entirety and inserting in place the following new subsection A of this section. Any person who violates a provision of this chapter shall be fined $490 per violation per day. Each day's failure to comply with a notice of violation or any other order shall constitute a separate violation. In addition to fines described in this section, the city may issue a cease and desist order and seek an injunction from a court of competent jurisdiction to enjoin the offering, advertising, or use of the unit as a short-term rental.
And in addition to this, Paul Capizzi, the city solicitor, has given us an opinion on Councilor Guarino-Swire's motion. If you could read that, please.
And the city solicitor has also submitted an opinion as follows. I've been asked to render an opinion regarding a proposal to amend the short-term rental ordinance. May the City Council amend Title 8, Chapter 9 to prohibit short-term rentals in the RA zoning districts. Yes, but there are matters to consider before adopting any changes. Generally, no use is allowed in any zoning district unless expressly authorized by the city. In 2021, the city adopted a short-term rental ordinance, which for the first time in Revere allowed residential homes to be used for short-term rentals. Homeowners are required to register their home as a short-term rental with the Short-Term Rental Enforcement Office. Consequently, any change to exclude the currently allowed use of short-term single-family rental in the RA zoning districts will not apply to those single-family homes already lawfully registered as short-term rentals in the RA districts. The amended ordinance shall apply prospectively and not to existing short-term rentals. So any single-family home in the RA district that is registered as a short-term rental may continue to operate subsequent to the adoption of any amendment prohibiting the use. Also, given the RA district is single-family only, any prior non-conforming multifamily homes that exist in an RA zone will be well-positioned to argue that it applies to single-family homes only. Therefore, any multifamily homes in the RA district are permitted to register as short-term rentals. This will undoubtedly frustrate the intent of the amendment, but also segregate single-family homeowners from multifamily homeowners. Another argument for concern will be that of single-family homeowners in the RA district who claim that the law is unfair and biased because single-family homes outside of the RA districts may legally register as short-term rentals. Of course, any amendment until legally challenged may stand, but I bring your attention to the inconsistencies to be raised and the expected scrutiny to be asserted from opponents.
Thank you. Mr. Catanazzo, do you have any?
Yeah. Nick Catanazzo, Director of Short-Term Rental Office. Vince.
Vincent Argenzio, Inspector in the Short-Term Rental Office.
Yeah. If you have any questions, we'd be glad to answer them for you.
Do you have an opinion on restricting single-family homes in the RA district, or is it not?
No, I don't.
Okay.
No. I think it's, the way it's written, I think it was misinterpreted at first, saying a single, we could rent it out to a single person.
Right.
But the person had to live there, so how could that be? So
Okay.
what happens is if I wanted to go to Florida and I owned this house and I wanted to rent out my house under the short-term rental rule, as long as they had another guardian that we could call in an event of an emergency, you could rent that house out. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very
We don't have many of them, believe me.
Right.
Yeah, so,
Thank you.
yes.
Any other members wishing to?
So, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I can definitely see both sides of this issue, but I agree with Attorney Capizzi's opinion in terms of the issues that it could raise, because I'm just afraid that a multifamily home in the single-family district is going to say, well, they could argue either way, right? They could argue that
correct.
I'm not a single family, so it doesn't apply to me.
Right.
Or they could argue, well, you know, I am a multifamily and I want to do it. So,
Right.
So I don't know if we can, because of these non-conforming, if we just had single-family neighborhoods with just single-family homes existing there.
Be a
then-
lot easier.
Then we wouldn't have
Yeah.
this problem. But because we have the non-conforming multifamily homes there, I think it just raises a whole host of issues that if you're one street over and you
Yeah.
happen to have a single family and you're prohibited, you know, someone on the next street over that's not in an RA district is going to say, well, I can't have them, but you're one street over from me and you're, so that's going to be an issue too. So I think it just really
Right.
kind of polarizes things and just, so I don't know. I mean, this just came
The-
into being in 2021 through
Yeah.
a city ordinance. So
Right.
maybe, I mean, I would want to get more, I hate to say this, but maybe we should just look at this issue from the standpoint of a ballot question and just see if the city wants them or not.
Yeah.
And just, you know, if the city wants them, great, then
Right.
we continue them. If not, because they're becoming too much of a problem to single-family areas and things like that regarding parking and noise and, you know.
Well, I can answer that for you.
Yeah.
If we didn't have an enforcement office, there'd probably be 1,200, 1,300 of them in the city. And they could be illegal apartments, they're renting out, unsafe conditions. We knocked out, in the first 2 years, almost 1,200. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Councilor McKenna brought this up in her area. She had a huge problem back 2-3 years ago. Yeah. But we have a great software package that picks up anybody who goes on Airbnb or any of these rental sites. The people who don't do it and they do it illegally, they're far and few. We pick up almost every single one. We generate a letter to them saying that they have to register with the city the minute it's seen on the website.
So then why is this prohibition being requested?
It's a good question.
Because if it seems like if it's under control, if it's
It-
so
it-
well under control,
It is
then why
it is-
would?
I don't know. I can't answer you on that.
So I guess that's my question to Councilor
Yeah,
Guarino Sawaya.
yeah.
It's being requested because there were certain issues that were being held in the Point of Pines a lot. So I had multiple homes that were being utilized as Airbnbs. They were shut down, they were ticketed, they were fined, and then they just came back up again. So, and then after speaking with Vin, he did get back to them again, but they're still operating. They are still operating. They are supposedly closing and selling the home back come August, but they are still operating. And it's still affecting the entire neighborhood. Trash is being thrown out there, garbage is all over the driveway, there's all kinds of bottles being thrown places that's not supposed to be, and I'm having serious issues down there. And this is why it's important that we try to establish something that, and if you can't have an Airbnb or a short-term rental in a home that you're not, it's not your primary residence, then why are we having short-term rentals in single-family housing? If you have a three-family, yeah, I understand, you've grandfathered in, it's a three-family. A two-family, you're grandfathered in, it's a two-family. But why are we allowing them to keep coming? I had a serious issue years ago. I mean, I wasn't the counselor then, but it took years to shut them down. Years. Mr. Powers can attest to that. I mean, it was on Pines Road. When I tell you, it was the worst thing trying to shut them down. But, I mean, they do their job. They do a wonderful job, but the problem is people just don't care. They do what they want. So it's urgent that we do something about it, and this is why I'm so adamant about having this. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Kelly.
So it seems to me, and I don't like them at all, I just want to make this clear. I would rather put this out to a vote and possibly not even have them at all. So I'm totally on board with this, and I see that they can become issues. But it sounds like then that maybe the issue is that the penalties are not really acting as a deterrent. So maybe the penalties need to be stricter.
Mr. Chairman?
Councilor
Joanne
McKenna.
McKenna, Ward 1 Councilor. In Beachmont, we have the most Airbnbs because we're close to the water, like Angela, Councilor Guarino, Sawaya. But the thing is that I've been working with Nick, and Vin came on later, but I was working with Nick. We had a couple of incidences down in Broad Sound Ave where we had single-family house, no owner. We had an Airbnb. They were leaving garbage, bottles, the same thing that you were going through. Called Nick. Nick came down, fined them. That didn't deter them, so they came back. He did it again. There was bottles and garbage everywhere. And again, we called Nick. He fined them again. And then the third time, he closed them down. And I've had no problems with that. So I really do think that we should leave it up to them. And I think if you have a problem, you call the police, you call them, and I think they'll come down and they'll do their job, because they did, this house was ridiculous. There was bottles everywhere, there was garbage everywhere, and it happened 3 times. And then now it's not happening anymore. Because I think the first fine is, what's the first fine? 150. The second fine is what? 250, and then it goes up to $495. Oh, 3, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Go ahead. Councilor Zambudo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Anthony Zambudo, 87 High Street. I think I understand the problem they're having in the Pines. I think this is an enforcement issue, and I'd be willing to offer more help to the department if that's what they need. But this is positively an enforcement issue, and the more they do it, the more you find them, and sooner or later they're going to stop. And it just sounds like if they need more bodies, we give it to them. But I mean, that's the bottom line. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
I just want to say one more thing, that we have a great mechanism. We also work with inspectional services, housing. I was in charge of inspectional services for 20 years, so I know basically everything that's going on. There's always going to be a problem, you know? So that's why we raised the fine on the 40U to $490. We can find every single day if we have a problem place. And Angela was right. There was a problem on Pines Road. We had to go to court. We had to go through the person ended up selling the house. But that was probably the worst one in the city. But we really don't have that many problems anymore. We don't. We really don't have that many problems anymore. Unless somebody does it undercover, doesn't go on the site and tries to rent it out through Airbnb or Vrbo, we send them a letter and say that you have to register with the city. And now if we have a big problem, then we use the inspectional service, the building department, health department, and we work hand in hand together. We're in the same office. Mark knows, he's worked with us for years out of that department. So I think we do have a great mechanism of how to find people and how to keep everything safe. The idea is we don't want people renting out places with an illegal apartment, no egress in the back. If there's a fire, God forbid, and somebody dies. We hear her concerns, and, we're there for her. We can always be there. So I've been doing this a long time. So, so you want to say something? Go ahead. Finn.
Mr. Argenzio.
Okay, so have a little bit of leeway because a lot of just got brought up, so I'll address it all in order. So mainly down the Pines, when Nick and I came on 3 years ago, there were roughly 12 short-term rental units in the Pines specifically. We're down to 4 active right now. There's 1 licensed multifamily that has not been an issue. There are currently 2 unlicensed properties that are in the process of being shut down. And there is one that was a short-term rental unit that has now transitioned to a long-term rental unit of 180 days as a minimum night stay. So over time, the amount of units has come down since enforcement began. The problem that Councilor Swire has alluded to in the Pines over the last 3 years is someone may do a short-term rental, we shut them down. A year later, the house is sold, and the property is then looked at as an investment property. Oh, you can do a short-term rental here, you can do an Airbnb. So then a new homeowner comes in the Pines, good area right outside of Boston, decides short-term rental Airbnb would be a good idea. So there is a recurring frequency to them depending when a property changes hands. Now, the next, in terms of some of the amendments that we propose, instead of a outright ban on them, which may or may not be challenged, I don't have an opinion on that either way, that's up to you to decide. But in terms of enforcement action, going up to a maximum of $490 instead of a maximum of $300 for the fine, placing a cease and desist on the property, and being able to add more pressure to non-compliant properties to make them come into compliance or shut down. And as well as establishing primary residence, we're recommending for what is originally in the ADU ordinance to prove primary residence, that we also add that into our ordinance, instead of trying to investigate if this actually is the primary residence or not. In terms of being able to apply, you must supply these documents. So outside of an outright ban, whether that's decided or not, that we would be able to add more teeth to the ordinance in the meantime, where we've brought down, originally when we came on, about 1,200 units down to about an active 100 in the city, and maybe we could then shave off a few more from that. In terms of a ballot question of allowing them in the city or not, again, it's, I'm not a legal expert, but after speaking with Solicitor Capizzi about this, if you do look into what had happened in Quincy, the city did decide to put a ban in place, and pre-existing short-term rentals did sue, and they were allowed to remain active because they were pre-existing. So I do believe that we may be married to the short-term rentals now, since we have allowed it, or at least if they were banned throughout the city, the pre-existing licensed ones would be staying. So that's where that would stand in terms of my opinion on a ballot question, is that since we have allowed short-term rentals, given applications, that we will now always have those. We can't take them away, because that did happen in Quincy. So just as information. Yeah.
Thank you, Vince.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Councilor
Mr. Chairman.
Silvestri.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to Nick or Vin, it seems from what I'm hearing is that illegal use is going to happen no matter what we do, right? It seems like even if we put a ban in place, a total ban, someone's going to illegally use their apartment. Or if we ban single-family homes, someone's going to illegally rent their use, right? So I agree with the chairman's notion that it is an enforcement mainly. I know there are only two of you, but I just don't know if banning them across the board or single-family use is going to solve it, because it seems like they're working around it no matter what we put in place to put checks and balances.
Yeah.
They're working around it.
Yeah, but I'll be serious with Mark. I don't really see a lot of it. I don't.
Okay.
I don't see people working a lot, because they got to advertise their property somehow.
Right.
And it's picked up.
Right.
We do have, if somebody, a neighbor calls and complains to us and say, geez, can you check your list that they have a short-term rental license, and we check it and we don't see anything, then we'll, like I was explaining, we'll send them a letter, and if we see activity there, then we'll get inspectional service involved, housing inspector. So now our fines are like $490. We can start fining them. So we have a good mechanism.
Is there a way to make that 500 or 1,000? I
No,
mean,
we
if they're-
can't, that's a state
Okay.
regulation, it's $490 under
Okay.
40U.
Okay.
Yeah, we were only, no, okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
President Cogliandro.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So you just said 100, we have roughly 100 active Airbnbs in the city. Out of all of those,
Yeah.
how many of those have caused any issues?
None toward, none.
So, and I
Zero.
just want to say something about the enforcement. Anytime I have called your office, the issue, it's like you guys teleport over to where you need to be. So adding another person, I understand that we might need it if more, Airbnbs register. I also just want to remind everybody of the gauntlet of inspections that have to happen. And I think the real problem is, and I don't want to take people's ability to make money away from them. The real problem is they cause a disturbance, we call you. You give them a warning, slap on the wrist. And so this disturbance could take a month to solve. Either they
That's
comply or we shut them down.
Right.
And so I think that that's one of the problems, but I just want to bring to light how many existing short-term rentals we have that aren't bothering anybody.
No, there is actually no, we haven't had any problems. As a matter of fact, and so a lot of people don't know, once they fill out their application and everything, we also, we put it in place, we have the fire department involved also with the inspection of the apartment, make sure it's safe, smoke detectors, everything a regular inspection, a housing inspector would do. Because, in my experience, we knew how to set this up. And we had to tweak the ordinance because, after a couple of years, we saw some things that we needed corrected. And we brought the fines up, we brought up the application fee up. So, because other cities like, Boston? Cambridge is charging almost $500 for, But I think if you ever got rid of this, you would see tons of them out there because it's a big moneymaker now. Hotels in Boston are like $700, $800 now. So you get a house, you come into the city, and as long as they're not bothering anybody, if we ever, it states it right in the rules, is there any problems, we shut them down, and we take their license away. And we haven't had one problem, seriously.
Okay, thank you. We're kind of pressed for time.
Oh, okay.
Councilor Kelly?
Yeah.
You're good. Any other councilors wish to speak?
I'd like to put in a motion to amend my motion, if that's possible. To amend it to what the short-term rental office put on their amendments. So I want to add all these amendments into it, and I will withdraw the motion, but I do want to amend my motion to have all these changes put into the law of
Okay.
short-term rental.
Okay, excellent.
Okay.
Madam Clerk, if you want to, she's withdrawing her motion
The
to
original
ban
motion.
them in.
Is withdrawing the right move?
I would like to amend it. I misspoke.
Amendment.
Amend it, yes.
By withdrawing the ban on the,
Yes, by replacing it with this.
okay. Okay.
Picking up the proposed ordinance from that's what you do, you're picking up the
Yes,
proposed?
I
okay.
am. Thank you.
There is no ban. So Councilor Guarino-Sawaya is essentially withdrawing that motion and picking up the proposed ordinance that was submitted by the short-term rental office. Okay.
Okay, good.
On the ordinance proposed by Councilor Guarino-Sawaya, for the amendments proposed relative to the short-term rental ordinance, that it would be, that the city council orders it to a public hearing. On that recommendation, Councilor Guarino-Sawaya?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Jaramillo?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Kelly?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Silvestri?
Yes.
Yes, and Chairman Argenzio?
Yes.
Yes, the proposed ordinance will be forwarded to the city council for a public hearing request.
Thank you.
Thank you, councilors. Appreciate your time.
Okay. No further business. The meeting is adjourned.